Hello everybody and welcome to the third Jamoma tutorial. This tutorial refers to the patch that was provided in class called Tutorial 1B Sample Player. Now, just for revision, we're actually going to start today with an empty patch. You can see it here, Tutorial 1B Sample Player, and we're going to build that patch from scratch so that we can see what it looks like. Remind ourselves how to do this. So first of all, we need to hold down the control key and click an empty space here. Note that the patch is already unlocked. You can see that from the little padlock down here. And we're going to go down to paste from Jamoma audio modules. That should be very familiar to you by now. Now the first thing I'm going to do then is to insert an output. That's a module that will allow us to connect whatever sounds we're making here to the hardware of the computer or to your audio interface. So let's select that, and here we have an output module. That should be familiar. Now let's go Apple I again to get info, and we'll just go up here and we'll give it a name, and I'm going to call this sampler out, and we'll close that. And again, we can see the name has appeared up here, and everything else about this module is as per it was before. Channel 1, channel 2, this is the balance or pan, which is made by this knob. The master gain, this is the ability to record the output, that is whatever's been fed into here as a sound file, so you could record your performance. And then this is a small limiter. Now I'm sorry, every time I go to record one of these tutorials, the fan on my computer starts making noise, so hope you can bear with that. Okay, so now we can add an input. Again, control, click, paste from Jamoma audio modules input. And here again we have an input. Let's just go Apple I straight away, and we'll call this again slash. We'll call this GP input. And there we have an input. Okay, cool. Now, we looked at the sample player last time. Let's do that again. So control, paste from Jamoma audio modules. And you'll see here that actually there are a number of things. There are file players and there are sample players 1 and 2. Let's get up both sample player 2. That's that one. And let's add sample player 1. You can see how quick this is to do. Okay, and now we can compare them a little bit. Let's also just grab here some of these sound file players. So let's grab like stereo sample file player. Pop that up there. And we'll grab the 4-channel player, which you might use if you're playing out to 4 speakers around the audience, or in fact its purpose here is really to play back ambisonic sound files that are in fact 4 channels, which represent three-dimensional space. And you can see that these are basically the same, it's just that this one will load and play back 4 channels, and you can see here the meters are a bit wider, this one only 2 channels. Most of you won't want to use this, so we'll just delete that. Okay, so then once you've got those up, you can look at their differences. You can see the input is basically open and play, loop, but you can't do anything else with this, right? But you can, in fact, I'm just going to lock my patch, you can select live input, for instance, from an instrument, which you might then record into a buffer inside Max, or the sample file. The pink noise, test tone clicks, you're probably not going to be using those in performance. You can see in the file player here that you can load and play and loop a file, but importantly, you can set the beginning and end point and the rate of playback. So if you make a cue that wants to play a particular part of a sound file, you can put the sound file here, you just drag it onto the module, and then you can set the start and end points really easily here and save that as a preset cue. We haven't gone into this, but up here under this little menu, you can actually load and save settings and presets, and then you can recall these quite easily during performance. So it's very powerful that every module has this function. Then we have Sample Player, and we used Sample Player 2 yesterday, where both speed control and pitch control were available here. And here on just the basic Sample Player, you just get this variable speed, but you don't get pitch variation. Loop on and off here it's a toggle box. Okay, so let's get rid of the sample file, the file player for the moment. Let's leave this here, and let's just bring these down here. Now you can see these generic names. Let's just go and change those. Give them a name that makes sense to you. I like to start all mine with GP, and then when I'm sending data around, I know that's me. And if we have an ensemble with lots of computers, you can use your own initials. I'm going to call this just sample 01. Okay, cool. Close that, and we'll give this one /GP sampler 02. Okay, so they now have names. Now, we also know from last time that the audio outputs are these middle two here, so we could hook that up here and here. And now, of course, we can also hook up these others. So these are really like sending the channels, because there's no volume control here. This is a bit like just, oh sorry, apart from up the top here, there's no fader like here. We can just send these, plug these straight in here. So these are like individual devices, modules, and also we could take these outputs. And you can see we can plug them all into the same output so they all play back together. Okay, and we'll lock our patch. Now if we turn audio on, it should go on all these modules. Again, there's this funny bug where it doesn't always. Now let's turn that on. Now when we turn this on and off, they all go on. Just seems to take a while to register. So let's get a couple of sound files. Let's take, say, this piano, and we'll put it over here. Again, just dragging and dropping it in there. There it is. Shows up, set to sound file, that's ready to play. We will take Julia Steinbach singing and drop it onto here. Now we have her loaded up there. And let's take this bucket drums and dump it in there. Alright, so we can see those. Now, as a reminder, if you click on the plus here, we'll open this loop window, and you can see here the name of the file that we're looking at. If you click on this one, it'll open another one, and that's the bucket pattern there. Let's just make this a bit smaller so you can see. Alright, there we go. And you can just stack those wherever you like. Okay, so if we now turn the audio on, we can put on loop, set this to play, turn this up, got audio, turn up the master output, and we should start hearing some sound. And we do, so that's good. Now, note that you can't adjust anything much here, it's fairly fixed, right? So let's start playing this one back, the Julia Steinbach. And this is the file that's represented here in this window. So we could just grab a little part of that to loop. Loop is not on though, so that's only going to play once. Let's turn loop on. And just grab a little bit of this. Okay. Now we could of course turn the volume down here. We could of course just select the end of the file where nothing's happening, and that will keep looping but we won't hear it. So let's play this one now. Okay, and this is this sound file. We can of course still adjust the level here, we can mute it, unmute it. Looping is off, so let's turn it on, hit play again, change the speed a bit. So you could adjust that to fit the piano better. I won't spend time doing that now. But you'll also, of course, lose the pitch. So here you can offset the pitch against the speed variation. And again, here you could just so you can see here now, if we start to put these things on multiple controllers, that we could actually have control over the loop points of several things here simultaneously. Okay. You can also see that by clicking on these volume controls here, it's a bit cumbersome. By clicking on all of these individually, it's also a bit cumbersome. So let's just have a look at the fact that we can control the play, back, and reversing, looping function of these files by sending them messages. Now, we looked last time at the fact that if we put a message box on the outside, on the output of any of these, let's put it into this right-hand input, and I create a message box just by hitting M on the keyboard. It pops up wherever my mouse is. Okay. Now let's resize that a little bit. Pop it down here. Okay. So now we can see the messages that come out of these two. And I'm going to lock my patch again. If I go and select any part of this window over here, the Julia Steinbock cigarette AIF, you can see here the sample stop, and in fact you would also be able to see the start times. Now, it's challenging when multiple things are being sent because you only see the last message here. So one of the tricks that's used a lot in Max programming, in fact, is to make an object called a print object. So if we hit N on the keyboard, it creates a new object for us. And now if we type print, we get a print object, and we'll give it a name so we know where the printing is coming from. I'm going to call this JS, and that's for this particular output. Now, let's connect that here, and this will print whatever comes out of this output into the Max window. So let's go here, hit the X to clear this so we know that this is just the most recent messages, and we'll go back up here and select a section of this file. Okay, now you can see that what you see here is sample stop, 3721, but you'll see in the Max window lots of messages which include stop and start. Now we don't see start here because the last message sent is related to stop. Let's scroll down to the bottom of the list. There it is. And it will have overwritten the start message. So by printing it into the Max window, we can look at, well, what's the stop point? There it is. Now we can look back through here as we were extending the stop point to where the start was made, which is there. And now we would know that the loop that's indicated up here in this window is between 2287.8 and 3721 milliseconds. You'll also see this information represented up here. But the point of showing you printing into the Max window is that to let you know that you only ever see the last message here. This is not the only data that's being sent out of this output. And by printing them all, you can go back and look at them. Okay, so we talked before about playing the file, okay, hitting play, play 1, turn that off, play 0, about reverse, reverse 1, off, reverse 0. And we've also talked about turning looping on and off, loop 0, loop 1. And so we're going to add those messages as inputs here so that we could then, for instance, connect a MIDI controller or some other controller to control those. So I'm going to close these, and I'm just going to go and grab some objects that I made up before just to speed this up a little bit. And drag those over here. Oops, going to unlock the patch. Here we go. Oh dear. Let's go through and select those again so we can drag them. Okay, here we go. So we've looked at these messages before. Slash loop. Here we go. Slash loop. And then we've also talked before about this $1 being an argument that gets replaced by whatever number comes in here, or whatever word or whatever argument, whatever message comes in here. We also looked using a message box at what the output of the toggle box is. You can make a toggle box by putting your mouse anywhere in the open space and just hitting the T on the keyboard, and you get a new toggle box. There it is. And you can do lots of things here. If we go Apple I again to get information, we can change the background color. We can change the check color. We can change the background here. Okay, and then if we close that, you'll see that we now have the toggle box with an orange out border with a blue background, and when we click it, we get a green cross in the middle. This can be very helpful when you're performing because it's easy to know when I do a certain task that I'm looking for a change in the blue toggle box rather than looking for which one of these has happened. Okay, so then when we click on here, we know that we're making a message. Let's double check this with another message box. Put that in here. When we click on this, we're making a message that says slash play followed by either a 1 or a 0, which are the outputs here. So let's just check that. Play, /play 1, turn this off again, /play 0. Cool. So let's plug that into here. We'll do the same for reverse. We'll do the same for loop. Now you can see here another message, /view/panel. And if you open the panel here, you'll see that this message, /view/panel, is sent out. So that's what happens to make this window open. So if we plug this in here, we can now use a key on a MIDI keyboard or the recognition of a pitch from the guitar or whatever to send that message and open that window for us at any point. Okay, so now turn the audio on so we can hear some stuff. Let's turn a bunch of things off here. Okay, so we have hooked up here, we have a loop selected. If we hit play here, it'll play. So now we can do this really quickly, and we can hook it up to a controller interface to do that. So let's put that in play. Let's reverse it. So we're playing forward and back, and put it into loop. Turn loop off, and it'll finish. Turn loop on, start play again. And if, for instance, the window is closed, we can open the window and change the loop point. So you can see all of those things turn off play. Now, if we wanted to do that here, we could just copy those things. And now if we go up here, we can go Apple D to duplicate, drag the whole lot over here, hook them in here, reverse, loop, and now we've got a whole new set of controls here as well. So play. Okay, let's open this panel. So let's duplicate that again. Move that as well. Put that in there. Close that. Let's open this one. Change the loop. Okay, cool. Now, of course, we can reverse that. Make sure the loop is on. Etc. Now we could do a bunch more things. Let's say that we quite like doing that, playing the file, reverse, forward, etc. But it'd be really cool with some echo on it. So let's go down here and go down to paste, Jamoma, audio modules, go and find our friend the echo here. There he is. And we could plug it in, these cables into here and then plug it into there. In which case all of the signal from here would be going through here. But let's actually use it more as a plug-in send. Connect this into there, and then connect this into here. And now the amount of effect that we're getting, we're going to get the direct signal flowing here and the affected signal flowing here. And the amount of effect we're going to get is based on this volume here. So if you remember last time, let's make a little message box window again, put that in there, and remind ourselves what is the argument or the message that we need to send based on volume control of this module. Let's turn it, and here we can see audio slash gain 49, and we'll find that at normal unity gain all the way up, that's 127. So that's variable from 0 to 127, like all MIDI faders. So if we unlock our patch, we can double click in here and just copy that, or in fact, we can just select that and duplicate the whole message box window, pop it up here, plug it in there, and change that 74 to $1. Now we're going to grab a slider, so just hit the N key for new, start typing slider, there we go. And we're going to grab this corner and turn it into a horizontal fader, like so. I'm going to plug this in that left-hand side, not the right-hand side, but the left-hand side. Let's Apple I to get info, go and change some things here. Let's make that, nice green or something, make it really obvious. Let's change the color here to something else of the knob, really bright, like red. And let's change the background color to, okay. Now again, it looks grotesque, but the point of this is that in performance, if you need to see where this is set, you can see that really easily. And you know that you might need to look for the orange fader at a certain point. So this is now controlling, you can see down here, the volume of this. And this is now, in fact, the effects return to the output here. Okay. So let's unmute that, turn that down, start playing this again, and bring this up, and we'll start to hear the echo that's occurring here. And you can hear that. And of course we could control the, let's high pass the filter as well. So let's put that up and do our reverse kick again. And already you're making some kind of beat loop that you would not have been making a few minutes ago, etc. Okay, cool. Now, before we finish today, I want to point out to you that there are lots of these effects units, and that you could have any number of sample players lined up here. it's up to you. Then you need to work out how to control them all, of course. I would also like to point out to you that you can plug any of these into multiple units. It doesn't have to be just plugged into one. And now when we click View Panel for this, it'll open both of these panels immediately. So it could be a really quick way to get all of them. Now, you could say, okay, I want to have both functionalities. I want to be able to open the panel for this one separately to this one. Put all these up here. And in addition to that, I want to be able to open the panel of both of them on occasions really fast. So I'm going to introduce you to one more object here today, and that is the select objects. There we go, select. And then we have to give select an argument, and I'm going to give it 1. And what select does is it looks for whatever this argument is on its input. Connect that to there. And then it sends out of here, and we can see a bang if the input matches 1. So I'm going to plug that into there. And now when I click this one, it opens that window. And I click this one, it opens that window. And I click this one, it opens both windows. So I might have this one open and then decide, oh, I need both. I can just do that, and now I have both of them open really quickly.